Hello and welcome to the 6 Plus show, a podcast for your wargaming and 40k needs. Hobby talk, tactics, tournament reports, lore and much more. We have it all. Please welcome your host for the evening, Tom.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and twisted homunculi, and welcome to that 6 Plus show. I am your host, Tom, and I am extremely excited because today I am joined by one of the 40k greats and one of my favourite content creators, the one and only Archon Skari.
Hello, everyone. How's it going? Thanks for having me on. You know, I thought there you were going to say an additional 6 plus. And I was like, I'll take all of the pluses.
Just keep going. Yeah. So it's I think that with the moniker 6 plus because a 6 plus is a thing, right?
It is. It's, for anybody who's new to the game, okay, we add pluses for the layer of saves. Yeah. So 6 plus for a save, 6 plus for an invulnerable save, 6 plus for a feel no pain save,
which is a very Drukhari thing.
5 plus. It used to be, you know, now I guess it'd be a 5 plus.
Yeah. But look, thank you so much for coming on. I'm super excited to have you here, and what we're going to do today is we're going to chat all things Drukhari. Obviously, you do loads of stuff.
Right up my alley,
you do loads of stuff, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I was super keen to get you on to chat Drukhari for our State of Play series. We talk different factions and sort of check in at different points in the meta, in the edition, to just see where we think they are. And the best people to ask are the people who love and know those armies inside out. So obviously, with Drukhari, there was only going to be one person that I was ever going to be happy to land.
So
we pulled it off. Not the spider, no.
Me.
I see. There's a lot of pride in this. I didn't know what I stepped into.
You will. Yeah, I get to play Lawrence in a week and a half.
Do you actually? Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah,
that's super exciting.
That's it's been many years of coming. So little sneak peek there. I should be in England August 15th. 14th?
Oh, brilliant.
No, 16th, the Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'll also be at Warhammer World August on the Thursday. So if anyone wants to come say hi, August 18th, I'm going to be at Warhammer World from...
Okay.
Is that a Thursday? Is that the Thursday? I think it is.
If that's in the week, I might try and get up there.
I'll be there in the morning. Yeah, August 18th, I'll be there in the morning. I'm going to be there from morning till about 6 p.m. And then, so if anyone wants to come hang out, or I don't know when this comes out, but if this comes out before then,
we'll definitely try and get this out before then.
We're gonna be out there, and then I go play Hellstorm Mikey on stream in the evening.
Oh, fantastic! Be a fun proper
time.
Tour. Yeah, that's exciting. That's very exciting.
I'm hitting the town. It'll be great.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, I mean, so as I say, we'll get into talking about Drukhari specifically in a moment, and we'll be thinking about what it is they do, where they fit into the overall picture in 40k, and their recent, ups and downs and place in the meta. But before we do that, perhaps if you just tell those who may be unfamiliar a little bit about yourself and what you currently do, because obviously you're a massively influential figure in the sort of 40k and Games Workshop kind of content universe. But where are you at now? What's your current sort of working world look like?
Oh, well, thanks a lot. Well, first of all, Tom, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
But, so I'm Skari. My name is Rizvan, but, everybody knows me as Skari. Archon Skari. I've been doing content for, I want to say, 10 to 11 years, maybe 12 years. It's been a while, since before YouTube was cool. And I've been playing Dark Eldar for pretty much the most of it. You can still go watch my first ever battle report, which was terrible. And it was like 6 minutes long. If I can do it, you can too, because it was bad. About 3.5 years ago, I decided to do content full time.
Oh, awesome.
So this is my job now. I coach 40k. I do battle reports. I do video content, mainly supported through my Patreon. So if you want to go hop on there, I'm doing a special where you hop on a Patreon, I send you Skari stickers as a thank you. So you get a couple of stickers. Yeah. And I work with Mini Wargaming, where we do content and Mini Wargaming a lot. but I do a lot of AOS and like other
Yes.
stuff there as well.
Yeah,
not just
there's a bit of
40K.
Slanesh going on, right? A friend of mine said he's
Oh,
seen you play
Hedonites.
Slanesh.
Oh yeah, it's funny. It's funny because as a Dark Eldar player, Slanesh is like, you don't really like Slanesh.
The baddies.
But
yeah.
but they vibe so well with me as a faction in Age of Sigmar. Like the whole faction clicks so well. Like I just love their playstyle.
Yeah,
because it's
I
very
think
Dark Eldar like.
that's
it's like
the thing. One of
very,
the cool things about Slanesh and Dark Eldar is the way that there's a lot of similarities, as you say. There's actually almost a mirror image in some ways in what they try to do and how they play games. So
exactly, and
really cool.
so I get to play lots of factions there, and I also am one of the coaches and creators at on the Art of War. So I do a lot of stuff with them as well. Yeah. So that's me in a nutshell. You find me YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and podcasts like this. I love chatting. I'm a glutton for my own voice, and it's exciting.
I can empathize with that. No, that's great. And I mean, obviously I've Drukhari are kind of my main army when I play 40K, and they're probably the one I actually got to grips with starting to compete properly with. Obviously, it's been a great addition to do that. But I watched all of your stuff. I think you'd done a whole series of sort of starting and collecting Drukhari in 8th edition, and that was when I came into them. I was an 8th baby, and I through a combination of just luck, I think it was at Mikey, one of Mikey's Hellstorm events, I won in the raffle that he did there, the Phoenix Rising box with new Drazar and that stuff in. And I'd been playing Craft Worlds up until that point, but then I was looking at these spiky guys and thinking, oh, maybe that's where it's at. And it was very much your content that I sort of mined into when I was getting a sense of how Drukhari are and how they play. And it's the thing that always stays with me is everything's going to die. That's the pointer from you that really stuck with me. Like everything is going to die, but you have to make sure it dies in the right way.
Yeah, I literally just had a conversation with a coaching client yesterday.
Yeah.
About this exact thing, because he was like, we're going through like one of his games and like the where he kind of moved his units and models, it was like not aggressive enough, and I was like, you have to remember everything in your army is just gonna die. It's just gonna die. And I live by that mantra. It's about where it dies and how it dies, right? Exactly. You have to control that. It's not that it's not gonna die. Like we're Dark Eldar, we are very squishy. Like we this just dies. And then guess what? Next game, you have a full army again. And you don't have to worry about it. Like it's not like Billy dies and doesn't come home from battle, like you get to use Billy again next game.
Yeah, which is very Drukhari at heart, right? Both the sort of disposability and the regrowth and coming back again. That all feels super appropriate. And I think that was one of the things that it's funny because when Drukhari was strong, like really strong in 9th, what I would say to people was like, I've been raised to play this army knowing it's all going to die, and now it's not dying. So something's gone wrong. It's definitely still there.
People didn't bring enough chainsaws. Okay?
Yeah, not enough chainsaws. Yeah, exactly. But that was when I knew something was wrong, and it does. Fingers crossed, it does feel like we're heading back to that place where going out and dying gloriously, but playing the game.
Yeah. You could play the game.
Like the way.
I think especially in the meta at the moment when it comes to like 9th edition and the Nephilim pack, which we'll be getting into in a little bit of detail. I like where Dark Eldar are in the state of the meta right now. I think it's a very good combination of damage, durability, maneuverability, and scoring potential, right? So you've got like this sort of like it's a little bit of everything. It's not a point and click like it was when the book first came out, where you just filled, 8 raiders filled with witches and just table people or whatever, Like it was like turn 1, move. Turn 2, kill
dies.
everything. Okay, good game.
It was so brutal.
Sure. That's why I played with my beast packs, because I was like, I need to play beast packs. I even played bad Craft Worlds when the book was good.
Oh, really? Wow. We'll talk about it, because I think that the psychology of the long-time player who's suddenly confronted with the book that overtuned is something I really want to mine into, because I think it'll be really interesting to hear how you found that. But I mean, we'll start a little bit more general, and just, I guess, for the uninitiated, what is it about Drukhari for you that you think makes them special, keeps you coming back? What's the sort of the magic with Drukhari? What is it that they do? What's their place in the overall picture of the game?
What brings me back to Drukhari over and over again is the fact that I haven't played with every combination that I think is possible, and I'm still having fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and I think that's the replayability of this book, at least for me, as like a Drukhari aficionado, right? Like somebody who's very invested in the faction. I've been playing them since the book that you have right behind you on the shelf.
I thought that might be the case.
That's the book that I started playing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back in the day when Raiders looked bad and everything looked bad and everything had 80s, crazy 80s hair. And but that was the thing is, back in the day, like in that book specifically, there was like maybe one competitive build. It was how many Dark Glances can you put into an army?
Yep.
And a Jet Bike Archon, because he was just silly. But then you have, like, right now you've got Cabal, Witch Cult, Coven, right?
Yeah.
They're like 3 completely different factions.
Yeah, totally different.
And I've had lots of fun playing Cabal only, Witch Cult only, and now the Coteries Coven only. So I've been playing, I can play all 3 separately. I play them together in a real space raid. And then there's like so many different combinations you can do.
So many.
In a real space raid, you can do like Black Heart and Prophets of Flesh and Strife, or you can do, Red Grief and like Poison Tongue and Dark Creed. Like there's so many different combinations. And then you can go with the multiple patrol style list, where instead of a homunculus, you take like Warlord Drazar or, Killy Archon, Killy Wit, like Succubus. Then you get access to all the Strife stratagems if you're going to do it that way, or, so. And I still haven't, even with the amount of games I play, the thing that brings me back is I still feel I haven't exhausted all the cool combos that I want to try.
Completely.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what so I can like play something weird and wanky, and it might not be, right? It might not be the most competitive.
Oh, no.
But it's going to be a fun combo or a fun sort of like combination of rules that nobody else can do. Like nobody else can go, I'm going to have a Cabal Raider carry Coven and Witch Cult and a Mercenary, and then they get out and go into a Witch Cult Raider. Yeah. Whereas most factions are like, well, I need to use my transport for my thing. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. Completely. They're not taxis. We're like, everybody hop on, let's go.
We're not fussy. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, it's because people talk about like deep books, right? That's something you hear, and there's the sort of the deep book is something that factions really love to have, and you're right. There's just nothing like this, I don't think, in the game. I think in terms of the fact that you've essentially got 3 armies within a book, each of which can wear, like 5-6 different skins very happily, and you can the weighting and the balance across them, you can completely mix up and change every time. I quite enjoy. Especially when the book was strong, I quite like rolling. Roll and see what combination of things am I going to do? Right? Do I get Red Grief and Coven of 12 and Obsidian Rose? Great. And whatever it is, you can build something cool and do something interesting with it. Like it's super super good in that sense.
Exactly. That's the general feeling that I have with the faction, and it has been like that for a while for me.
Yeah. No, that's really exciting. I think that's definitely their big strength, and there's always room to grow. And the nice thing, certainly if we think about competing, what's great about that is as a meta changes, books that can change are in a good spot, right? Books that can find new tools, reconfigure. I remember there was the era when, and there was one of the eras with this book that I probably did the best was when we had that Volkite era. All the Volkite appeared, and all this damage 2 was flying around with Grey Knights and Thousand Suns, and then suddenly it was like, right, Artists of Flesh, Coven, let's go, let's get the -1 damage.
Yeah, everybody wants that special ability. Well, let's just shut that down.
Yeah,
okay, let's play on our terms.
And so it feels like whatever twist or turn you get confronted with, there's something in there if you look, that can help you match up into the new set of circumstances. And that's as a competitive player, that's the dream, right? To be able to respond to things and puzzle back.
you have to be flexible. You can't be married to any sort of like one thing.
No.
And I've always said this: like, if you want to get good at your book, play a game. I'm not kidding you. Play games and then read your codex again. I don't care how many times you've read your codex. Play a game and read your codex again. I played about 10 games before I reread my codex because I was being silly. And that's when I figured out that all my Strife got +1 to charge. against
Oh,
something
wow.
that wasn't engaged. And I was like, wait a second, this would have made all of these games so much easier.
Yeah.
So don't be
Yeah.
afraid to, like, even a grognard like myself. Like, you can still learn some stuff. Like, read your codex after your games.
Yeah, no, that's super exciting, and you're absolutely right. And it's that post game thinking and retooling and going and just checking what different units do is super cool. You obviously, I say I'm an eighth baby. I'm relatively young in the overall status of sort of competitive 40k, but I guess I was really curious over sort of the longue durée, over the long term playing with Drukhari competitively. Where have they kind of fit in? What sort of position have they typically occupied? Because they've not been a heavily played army, have they? Until possibly
Even now,
this
they're
edition.
not. Like,
Yeah, even
this
now.
edition, they I think they peaked at what, 10% of the meta. Like, they 13% maybe when it was like everyone was on the Dark Eldar train except me. So, but right now we're back to like normal. It's like 2% of the meta.
It's very slim again.
You go to like a 60-person tournament and like 2 people will be playing Drukhari or something. Like we're very, and I think that's like iconic of the Dark Eldar.
Yeah.
Ever since I started playing them, I go to 60, 100-person tournaments. I'd be the only Dark Eldar player. And that was even going in through 7th edition. Nobody played Dark, like very few people played. 7th maybe a little bit, or 6th I think there was a few, but it was more like mixed Eldar, more like than just straight up Dark Eldar.
Yeah.
Because you had to put in Eldrad for Doom and things like that. Which is is a whole other story.
Yeah.
But they've always been a fringe army that is iconically very hard hitting, but doesn't really take a punch very often. And that's kind of like, they're fast and they hit hard, right? Yeah. And most people go, "Where are your incubi?" Right? Like, that's kind of like the question that you'd get asked. Because back in like 4th edition, you had a raider filled with incubi, right?
Yeah.
And someone would go, "What raider is the one with incubi?" You'd be like, "This one." And that was like target priority numero uno.
Get that thing dead.
Like, that thing needs to die. Right? And I think...
Which is still the case.
Still the case.
Yeah.
Except now there's 3 different raiders with 5
that's it. Try and have a whole load of them,
Exactly. So, so that style hasn't changed, and a lot of the times, like back in the day, it went from, "Oh, you play Dark Eldar, nobody plays Dark Eldar, don't they suck?" right? To nowadays, to then being like, "Oh no, you play Dark Eldar, I roll," right?
Yeah.
To now being like, "Oh, they're Dark Eldar, cool." You know what I mean? Like, even like it fluctuates. But,
absolutely. And as you say, I think we're normalizing now, and I think it's come back to it being those that really are really passionate,
skill set, and like unit composition and kind of like technical play on the table. It rewards you now as a Dark Eldar player.
Definitely.
It's not just like push crayons up your nose and table your opponent's army.
Which was very much the place that it was
like
at.
That for a bit.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And that I think is nice, and it's a relief to feel it coming back to that place, right? And as you say, they're glass cannons, they're the hard hitters. I feel like they're kind of an anti-elite army. That's kind of always like, I love when I'm playing Drukhari, I absolutely love it if there's like, here are your really expensive noble champions. I know where they are. I'm quicker than them, and I know I'm going to hit them with something that really hurts them. Like that's always when they seem to be at their best, is when they're toppling something armored and elite and expensive.
Yeah,
they're really good at it.
They've historically been like the kill Marines. Like soda army, right?
Yeah.
There was maybe like a little bit of time when Iron Hands were really stupid, where like the Marines could kill you back a lot faster than you could kill them. That sort of thing. When it was like, I'm going to have 6 Iron Hand planes or whatever the hell those lists were.
It was horrible.
Whatever. That was was just silly. The game's been silly at times. Okay, you younglings don't even know. Okay, there's horror stories I could tell you of combos that you could do, which were ridiculous. Okay, and most of you started playing during COVID and have no idea what you think Harlequins were bad or Tyranids were bad. Let me tell you a story.
Yeah. It's the Iron Hands thing I was around for, and I think that was probably like my first like absolutely mad meta. Like, so, oh no, what is going on? I can't hurt anything at all.
Yeah, that's where my witches were like my favorite friend, because they weren't like witches weren't really meta at that point.
Yeah,
like nobody took witches, but I did. Why?
Oh, interesting.
Because of the net. I just needed to grab that one intercessor squad that the Iron Hands player had with the net and charge my whole army into it and not kill it and stop it from running away with the net.
Yeah.
So that then none of the planes could shoot me. That would be like...
That'll do it.
That would literally be the one reason I had it. Anyway, there was like ways around it, but it was like you had to like really stretch into the corners of like technical play and be like, this is what's gonna help me win or whatever. Anyway.
No, definitely, and I think that's absolutely right. And I think it was one of the things. It's actually one of the things I was struck because I was reading the Chaos Space Marines book recently, and I was kind of like, let's look back at the Drukhari book again. And I was like, I didn't really appreciate it because they were my main army in Ninth, but there's just so much AP in the book. There's just AP everywhere. And they just, I was in a sort of post Armor of Contempt world with the -1 AP. You're looking at the Drukhari book and you're like, it's okay. It doesn't slow you down too much. Like there's a few things that'll make life difficult.
Yeah,
and there's
a few things that did change, right? Like the AP1 stuff, especially like Hellions.
That took the biggest hit, I think. The Witch Cult AP1. But
however, you can take Strife, get the extra AP, it just costs you some CP. You know what I mean? So there's ways around it. If you're running Grotesques with AP2, you can make them flayed ones or whatever they're called.
Covenant 12.
Covenant 12.
Yeah. I like Covenant 12. Yeah.
They're extra AP in there too. But yes. Dark Eldar just has options and I love it.
Yeah. No, super, super good. And so obviously we've alluded to it, but obviously 9th edition saw a rise. I've labeled it in here a rise, but it was more like a sort of catastrophic sort of meteor effect of the Drukhari book dropping into a meta of, as you say, of Space Marines, really, of power armor all over the place. And Drukhari comes out with this super strong book, lots of very cheap units,
and we murdered everyone
and
for like
just
5 months,
killed
6
everybody,
months even.
And
it was
outplayed everybody.
Amazing.
In terms of the sheer numbers and the sheer scoring and the weight of bodies and the AP, and it was an insane time, and a lot of people came onto the faction. A lot of people tried to pick up Drukhari. Less of them are still around now. But I guess for you as both a Drukhari veteran, but also someone who's constantly played and scrapped through different editions with Drukhari, how was that? how was dealing with that at your end?
2 things. Number one, as it led up to it, that was my biggest fear.
Yeah.
That was, and I had been talking about that, hey, what do you want? What do you not want? I was like, I don't want this book to be crazy good. Like, I don't want it to be a book that everybody is like playing just because it's super strong.
Yeah.
That was my greatest fear. That actually came to be. So I was very sad about that. On the second hand, I'd been playing Drukhari for 10 years while they were crap. I really enjoyed crushing people for a good month or 2.
Yeah, it's nice to have that month.
Unequivocally, cackling on my side of the table while their soul just exits their body and their eyes glazed over because they just couldn't do anything about it. So I did enjoy a short period of time. And then of course it was COVID, so we were playing a lot of TTS and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then of course so I played a couple of tactical tortoise pods and things like that where but more and more it came down to it was just I didn't have to think. I hate not having to think when I play a game. It was me lining up. I didn't care if I went first or second. It was put everything on the line. I go like this, and then I go like this, and then you're done. right? And that was it. You just had no army left.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't fun for me.
No.
Like, I had fun a little bit, became very not fun at all. So then I started trying weird things like using everything that wasn't Blackheart or Prophets of Flesh or Strife, like using all of the things that weren't good. And that was still really good. So then I used Beast Packs and like, you know, no relics. I was like nothing. I was just like, just try and like play the game terribly. And then use like a combination of units that wasn't optimized and use like Scourge and all the stuff that like people were like, they're silly. Yeah. And that was fun. Like that kind of kept my friends around, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then eventually, as it just got worse and worse, I just started like playing bad factions. Like back in the day, Craftworld was pretty bad. So totally. I just started playing some Craftworld, and I built a Craftworld list. And towards the end of the height of the Drukhari, I wasn't even playing Drukhari because I was like, this is just not. It's not challenging for me, and it doesn't hit all the little receptors in my brain that make me enjoy this game, which is the trying to solve the puzzle, if that makes sense.
Exactly that. Yeah, no, I think that's completely it. And as you say, it's when the playstyle was so evidently not right. As you say, you can you can be on the line, you bring your transfers forward, they fire some melter, they drop a raider, everything pounces them, and it didn't feel great. And it was certainly something that I similarly was dabbling around and experimenting with different lists. I had my Tantalus out a lot. The Tantalus was fun to muck around with and trying the different sub factions. And I guess some books then did come out that had strong answers to them and made life difficult, but it did take months before it felt like they were
once
back.
Admech came out, that was like, okay, Admech was like a toss up. Who goes first? Did the 6 Admech planes table you, or do you like rush at the Admech and like win?
Very much so.
But I'm actually really happy that we've passed that point.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of what the updates that they've been doing to the game. I feel the meta is the most balanced it has been.
Oh, it's super good at the moment.
Ever right now. The game feels in a good spot.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, and I think Drukhari got handled really well. From a balancing point, right? Because they kind of chipped away.
Other than the core on my Talos, okay?
Yeah, I was going to say, okay.
On my
Other than Talos,
like, I don't think that would break the game right now. But I'm playing like the coteries of the homunculus that have so many interactions with the core keyword, and I wish my Talos and Kronos were core. Like, why? They gave it back to the chickens. The damn Admech chickens got theirs back. Give me core back to my Talos. They're my babies. I love my Talos.
You are right. They just didn't do that. Yeah, they didn't do that much. They weren't doing anything wrong. I mean, sure, people were running 9 of them, and it was a bit scary. But I don't know what that would even do now. Like, and as you say,
cowards is what I say. Absolute cowards.
So good. I think. I mean, I'm definitely hoping that those come back, because as you say, it's just the interaction. There's so many things that made them work that you can't do now, and it's rubbish. I mean, Kronos, as long as the Dark Techno still just spray death, but they don't. Kronos and Talos both desperately want it, and as you say, seeing it being reintroduced in a few places makes you kind of hopeful that I think we'll be back off the naughty step at some point.
Well, that's why it's nice that it's in the Balance Slate update,
totally.
Right? Like Balance Slate update. They can delete the sentence at any point in time. Hopefully, at some point, they learn how to just cross things out they're deleting. You know what I mean? Yes. Like just line through. That's no longer part of this, so that we can see what changes instead of having to have this like encyclopedic knowledge of like what is included in these FAQs to see and notice when something gets removed.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's for a whole other podcast on the grievances of the average tabletop gamer.
And I mean that kind of leads us towards Nephilim, right? Because obviously these changes are all bound up with Nephilim. As you say, we've entered into probably the healthiest meta we've had in a long time, and with a lot of effort being targeted specifically at balance. And obviously for Drukhari, that has meant big changes, and it's been really interesting playing the army now in Nephilim, and I've certainly found it a different experience. So I guess, I mean, let's start general and then try and lock in on a few things. Like, where do you feel the army is at competitively now in the Nephilim era? What sorts of things have you found using Drukhari now as compared to before?
Well, I've been testing. So my view, at least right now, of the entire Nephilim state of the meta is from the lens of the World Team Championship
Yes,
team
of
event.
course.
So you have to understand, like, for the last since the release of that book, all I've been doing is playing team-based events and team-based lists that are very much designed differently than your average
of course
take all comers list. So I will have to revise this statement once I play games after the WTC, right? Like mainly because I'll be playing more varied lists that don't have like a very designated purpose, you know. However, from what I've seen in terms of numbers and statistics, the Dark Eldar seem to be in a very healthy 50 to 55% win rate.
Yeah, completely.
It's fine. That it means that you can win or lose every game. You know what I mean? Like, you have the tools at your disposal to win or lose a game.
Completely.
I've definitely been seeing the trend of continuing of the multiple patrols. Mainly because patrols don't cost us extra command points.
Which is super nice.
It's amazing it means you can have a very flexible army with no cost to it, right? Like you don't have to, like, there's no cost. Drazar is still incredible with like the Hatred Eternal, so you don't have to buy him a relic because he comes with all his weapons, so you can make him a warlord, give him one command point, and you have a really killy close combat character for a single command point. It's fantastic.
He just
goes. I still think your competitive edge or precision strikes Succubus is probably one of the best other killy characters in the game with a triptych whip. So you're paying 2 CP on her a lot of the time. And then, you know, if you're running the triple patrols, a fight last Archon, like cheapest chips, just with a fight last, boom, and then you've spent 4 pre-game CP. You have 2 to start the game with if you need anything for like a lightning fast or whatever, or like a fire and fade early on. So in terms of a core, I feel like most of the competitive lists build off of that.
Oh, definitely.
And then you've got grotesques are like still amazing. They're still fantastic.
Super good. Yeah.
15 of them I would recommend. You know.
Wow, I've never tried 15. I have 10. I haven't gone to 15.
10 is good. If you're doing the triple patrols, you can do 10. Right. If you know, the key here is if you're doing triple patrols, it's 2 units of 5. But then you need to make sure you supplement it with the 15 incubi. So you have 15 incubi and your 6 mandrakes, which I would always take the 6 mandrakes.
Yeah, mandrakes are
incredible.
Awesome.
And so that core then goes off to something else. Like instead of the 3rd unit of the grotesque, you take a core of the Archon, right? You can have a full court, and then you have another durable unit, which is your 3rd durable unit. Then you can intersperse it with a bunch of racks, which is still the best troop choice in the game, in my opinion.
They're amazing. Yeah, racks are amazing.
They're incredible.
Yeah.
And then a couple of transports and maybe a Ravager. Now, Void Raven Bombers have been good in the meta right now because of the anti-Sisters of Battle, anti-Thousand Suns tech that they bring, which is nuking stuff before the game starts. Which is great.
Dropping a bomb on its head as it hides in its little castle ready to start scoring.
You're like,
oh no!
It would be a shame not bombed. You know? Oh, is that Ahriman? It would be a shame if he got bombed too. You know, so
I've never tried that on Thousand Suns, but I would love to because they are one of my least favorite nuts.
And when do you ever see a Thousand Sun army with a Rhino? Like never, right?
Never.
So like you put 2 Void Raven bombers down and go, well, we'll see what happens, and then like I've had games where I go first, bomb, kill 3 characters. That's the game. Like they don't have any of their psychic powers anymore.
They can't do any of their stuff.
It's done. Like that's it. That's before I even moved anything else in my army. I'm like, man, fly off the table. Goodbye, army. You know, shake hands. Okay, we can play for fun if you want. Let's rewrite. Which has happened to me before in a tournament. But then, you know, and I feel like we're flexible. We don't have the best secondary scoring in terms of Nephilim.
No, and that's the big change, isn't it? That's the big change. Yeah.
Like we heard the Prey went from like almost an auto take to it's very risky now.
It's super risky.
Instead of like averaging 12 to 13 points, you'll average 6. You know what I mean? Like it really cut that down, and they don't have we don't have the free extra point for our deployment zone like Necrons do. Filthy Necrons. And but I do like the life that was injected into something like Take Them Alive, which
Yes.
I
Yeah.
am actually really enjoying that secondary. I feel it
Yeah.
works very well into my personal play style.
Yes.
Because I can kind of hide, and then I can commit in bursts for like 3 turns to
That's it.
try and
Yeah.
get like 5, 5, 5. You know what I mean? Like 5
Yeah.
turns,
Yeah.
5 points, 5 points, 5 points, and max it out or get like a
Yes.
high score on it.
Yeah.
And it's a great way of taking Assassinate without taking Assassinate.
That's
getting
it, 'cause you
points.
get that bit more flexibility, don't you?
And getting
Yeah.
points for killing stuff that's not a character. You know what I mean? So like you can kill transports, you can kill like a whole bunch of stuff, and it's great. I haven't tried Fear and Terror yet. I feel like it could be good in certain matchups.
Yeah, so I have some Night Lords, and they've got basically the same secondary, and I always look at it and I'm like, maybe that's good. I don't know. I need to fly a lot of stuff into a lot of stuff, and then suddenly that gets great, right? But I'm always pulled out of actually ever trying it, so I must attempt it in a game.
I feel like it would work very well if you ran a list with like 6 Venoms.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, like Venoms would love it. Venoms
if you just like tagged everything with Venoms and they had to fall back with 5 or 6 of those units, you'd be like, oh, that's 5 points.
You could have an amazing turn, right? Like just and I think as you were saying, I think the killer difference is, as you say, it suits your style. But again, that's because you've played Drukhari forever, and you have the style. It's a proactive style. I think the thing with Old Herd was that it really let you sort of sit and wait. Yeah. Certainly in tandem with some of the other secondaries, you could really sit off and say, well, what are you gonna do? I think with the new secondaries in Nephilim, it feels like we're back to proactive, go and do things, and stop them doing stuff as well. That matters now.
Yeah, taking points away from your opponent. So, like, standard-wise, retrieve Nephilim data and, like, banners. Like, I'm picking one of the two normally. I'm picking either engage or behind enemy lines. Yeah. Normally, it's one or the other, depending on how aggressive I have to be. And then I'm usually taking, like, Take Them Alive or No Prisoners if I'm playing, like, Necrons or, Big Game Hunter or Bring It Down or whatever. That third one is like the flex pick, really.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas the other ones are very built into like how I play the game already. Completely. And it just depends on who I'm playing and what mission it is.
Yeah. No, completely. And I think that third one is the tricky one, and that's the one where you have to pick carefully and make sure you make it work, because Herd was always in a good category. That was the thing about Herd. Even when it was good, it was still in a category like Stranglehold, Engage, Behind, and line stuff that was great. Yeah. So now that it's less relevant, you realize you need to build very carefully with the rest of the secondaries now.
Yeah, it's a little harder depending on how you play, but in the Hammer and Anvil missions, right? So you got Recover the Relics and the Scouring, for example, which are the two, Hammer and Anvil, like hot, like hamburger style deployment, right? It's like squished and and Herd the Prey was fantastic then because it was like 4 points. Like every time you got 4 points and your opponent had to like get past that halfway point to come up and challenge you. And then your Light Grotesque and Incubi could eat them, right? Yeah. Now it's just half as effective, right? Yeah. So even if you hold 2 all game long, you're only getting 10 points, instead of like only having to do that for 2 turns to get 8 points, whatever it was. So it's like, so you might as well just go behind enemy lines and like get 4 points by like just charging your opponent in their zone or whatever.
Yeah. No, completely. And I think that's right. And I think that's the way in which they've adjusted Drukhari, I think, the most in Nephilim to kind of get them in a place where they've got to go and do stuff and give opponents' armies the chance to be putting us on a timer, I guess, and making us come and play, which I think is how Drukhari should play. And so that's good. I mean, I guess I was there's a couple of things I want to ask you about, but one of them was, in the meta at the moment, are there any particular factions or matchups that you find particularly challenging? Is there anything out there that's giving Drukhari a particularly hard time?
I think the thing that gives Drukhari the hardest time in interesting enough is Chaos Knights.
Yeah, I find Knights hard. I find Knights
are always hit or miss, right? Like Knights are always hit or miss. Imperial Knights, they're tough. They're very tough because they're, as soon as they get those bondsman abilities on their little knights and their -1 damage, like Incubi effectiveness goes way down, Grotesque effectiveness goes way down. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's hard to sort of like clear them. You want to However, at least against Imperial Knights, you can like reliably make a charge.
Yes.
Shoot the thing you want to shoot, right? Like whereas with Chaos Knights, you're like dread test, and like you look at it and go, wait, this raider has leadership 7 and it's within dread range. There's leadership 6 and maybe leadership 5.
Yeah.
Well, I'm probably shooting the closest thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's so your Chaos Knights have a lot of mechanics that can take the control out of my hands.
Yes.
And that I find tough because of the fact that I want to charge you with my grotesques. I'm 4 inches away. I'm leadership 8, then potentially up to like -3 depending on some of the bonuses they have, and then might be taking it with 3d6, right? So taking the leadership test at -3 on 3d6, or now it's an 8-inch charge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, hopefully, right? Like, hopefully I can go punch your 1 wound knight and then kill it, or I might just not be able to because I'm too far away now, even though I'm this close. That's frustrating. And so I find that mechanic hard to play around. Correct. So it can be tough to play.
Anything when you're sort of there with your pants down is not good news. Like, it's
not good.
Because
when I
you
commit,
usually only get one go. Like
when I commit, you need to like seal the deal. Like go in, get the kill. Because guess what? Your unit's going to die after, right?
Yeah, it's going to die.
You need to trade effectively.
Completely.
Yeah. And Knights,
it's
like Chaos Knights,
fraught with risk. Yeah, fraught with risk, the dread system. And it's I mean, I really like the design on it on Chaos Knights because it's quite an unusual set of mechanics, but as you say, it's a massive headache. Headache, and it's just the -1 damage can be a real issue as well. How have you found things like Sisters and Necrons? Obviously, those are both armies that people are sort of talking about. They've both got a lot of noise at the moment. They both score very well.
Yep.
But it's how do you feel about that matchup?
Okay, so I play against Necrons a lot. John the Cron, who's on the channel with me a lot.
I've watched a few of those.
Cron, okay, like he plays Necrons, and so in terms of that matchup personally, I'm very comfortable into the matchup. Necrons get a lot of points, but they also give me my 3rd secondary very easily.
Yeah.
So that's a little easier for me, and their damage output is the same. Like they still do the same amount of damage as they did. And a lot of times things like grotesques and incubi still go in and murder entire units.
They really do. They really do, yeah.
They have 1 unit with an invul save and the king. You know what I mean? Like, we have high AP, we've got lots of attacks. Like, more often than not, we can go in and just kill stuff. So in terms of I leverage the damage output of the Dark Eldar into the Necrons. So I'm trying to play against their army, not the mission. And that's the thing when you're playing, you have to choose early on. Am I playing against the mission or am I playing against the army? If I'm playing Knights, Chaos Knights, I'm striving to beat the mission and play the mission better than my opponent plays the mission because their army's hard to beat, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know, like I can't reliably kill every knight on the table, so I need to play the mission and get points. On the other hand, if they are better at the mission, then I need to play against the army. I need to kill the army. I need to eliminate the units that they have and their ability to score points, etc. So that's the switch I'll make against Necrons. I go for the throat. I'm trying to kill things, remove pieces, and kind of like stop them from being able to play the mission to then score the points. And then against Sisters, same sort of thing. Little harder though, because they trade just as well as we do.
Yeah, they come and play our game, don't they? They really like it.
I use Incubi, they use Repentia, I use this, they use Zephyrim. Like it's back and forth, and they usually have 1-for-1 or even more trading pieces than we do.
Yeah.
Right? So they have a leg up on that. Now,
they definitely do,
tech-wise, though, I've been really looking at my Ooga Booga Homunculus.
Oh, hey! Fear Incarnate. Yeah,
that's right.
Nice.
So, Dark Creed, Grizzly Trophies, Ooga Booga Homunculus to go, is that, Celestine over there doing your 5-point secondary on an objective? Well, I'm going to spook her and stop her from doing that secondary.
Oh, that's clever. Yeah.
That's 5 points that you can't do, and she can't start it again next turn because of Ooga Booga. So
Yes.
there's like tech that I'm looking at putting in
And
in order
there's the
to
book again,
help
right?
me.
That's what the book does. There's
Correct.
always something.
Correct. So in terms of where the meta is right now, I feel like Ooga Booga would be really useful.
Yeah.
And it's why with Craft World, for example, I highly recommend you put a restrain in there, right? A
Yeah.
restrain, which is like a power that does pretty much the same thing. Or you put in a suppressive fire swooping hawk exarch that can stop
Yes.
actions as well. So you have two
Yeah.
versions on that into Sisters. You could like shoot a unit and stop it from doing actions, and then you can do a psychic power and stop another unit from doing actions.
Super
So their
cool.
15-point turn goes to a 5-point turn, and you can try
Yeah.
keep it to a 5 points
Yeah.
for the rest of the game, right?
Yeah.
And like that, you can tackle their ability to fight the mission.
That's super cool. That's really smart. No, I really like that. And as you say, I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's the finding the tools to disrupt and stop them. And I think that's very interesting because something I'm not always good at working out when to, as you said, well, you sort of say playing the mission. I sometimes think it was like playing around. Are you playing around them or are you playing through them? Right? Which one are you doing? Are you going to try and just put them away, or are you going to try and score and win on the points? And it's not always easy knowing exactly which to do. But that was my instinct, certainly with Necrons and with Sisters as well, where you're like, well, if they're going to do a thing and get a load of points, we've got to go in and stop them doing the thing, and we're pretty good at that if we need to be.
Yeah, and it's okay, right? Like you have to be okay to make mistakes, which is why practicing, testing, it's one of the reasons, when you're doing a martial art and you want to get good at it, you do drills.
Yes.
When you're doing playing football or you're playing a sport, you're doing drills. You do the same thing 1,000 times so that in the heat of it, you're not relying on like your thought process, you're relying on instinct and muscle memory, right?
Yeah.
To kind of like understand what you need to do, which is why if you have a bad matchup, if you have a friend that beats you up all the time, right? And it's literally you show up at game night in the garage or whatever, and your friend's playing Thousand Suns, and once again he's going to kick your teeth in, right? Stop changing your list. Stop trying to beat the Thousand Suns. Play the same list 10 times, 20 times.
Yeah.
Eventually, at the end of it, you'll start using your units differently and going, well, this clearly isn't working. How about I reserve my whole army? Or how about I just hide on my board edge for 2 turns? Like, can I lower the differential? Can I?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's going more
that's huge. It's hugely important.
Theory.
Hugely important. And I think being ready to do that, and that's I think that's where the style of Drukhari actually are quite good, because I think that go in, die, learn, repeat thing that they have helps you to get a thicker skin with doing that, right? You get that sense of, because it's not for everyone, right? Some people really dislike that. Some people really struggle with that style, but I think learning to own that and take it on the chin and come back and try again is massively important. And you really have to do that with Drukhari, because especially now that they're at a level they should be, you don't just turn up and roll over anything. That's not how it works, right?
Yeah. You have to use them brains.
Yeah. Speaking of using them brains, one of the things I know you've been dabbling in recently is the Army of Renown, right?
Yeah, the coteries of the homunculi.
And this was something I wanted to ask you about, because I haven't picked that book up yet. I've read online what it does, and I really like some of the tools that I saw, but I really haven't tried it. And I was very curious how you found that as an option for Drukhari going forwards, a whole new layer on top of the book.
I love it. I really enjoy it. Like, I read it and I was like, ooh, this is cool. Ooh, this is cool as well. And I've done a couple of different I played it, and I've tried a couple of different builds.
Yeah.
Eventually to the build that I've taken right now that I'm taking to the World Championship.
Oh, it's going to the World Champions. Amazing. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so
that's
my
really
coteries
cool.
are going in. So I started with like 120 racks, and it was just like a horde of racks. And, that was really fun until I ran into like Chaos Knights and got tabled in 2 turns. And then I was like, okay, this is that's a bad matchup.
Yeah.
So how can I prevent that from happening? So I put back in Raiders and Incubi to make sure I could have like some killing potential that had some speed, and I turned it into my style of army, which is more like tit for tat, very flexible, and putting like swift outflanking on a Raider and coming out a different side, and like deep striking and like basically not playing the game my opponent wants to play. But the thing about the coteries I love is they change the math. in their durability.
Yeah.
So as soon as the units go under half, right?
Yeah.
Their 5+++ becomes a 4+++, right? So they get a 4
feel
of
no
feel no pain.
pain. Yeah.
Now,
Wow.
if you're taking mortal wounds, it happens as soon as the unit goes under 50. So if I had like 10 mortal wounds on a unit, I'd go 5 up, 5 up, 5 up. And then as soon as it goes to like under 50, it turns to 4 ups for mortal wounds.
Yeah.
But for
Wow.
rest of damage, it's when you target the unit, is it under 50, then it has a 4 up for like traditional weapons.
Yeah.
So if I have a 10 strong unit of Rax, you know, you're shooting at them, pop, 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 couple of heavy bolters, you kill 3, then another unit shoots, you kill another 3, now there's 4 left. Now all of a sudden that other unit of bolters you're shooting at it has like twice as hard a time to kill the last 4 models. So then not only will they shoot, but then you have to probably shoot another unit at them. So they kind of like change the activation sequencing of like soaking up another activation from your opponent to try to get rid of them. So it's subtle. But it changes the math just enough to make it annoying for your opponent to do the mental math of I need this many bolters to kill that many models, right? And I could spike it. Like a 4 up is a 4 up.
Fours are a game, as we know.
It's either you make every single one or you don't make any of them, right? I've had like a single like hemoxite with like an electrocorrosive whip, you know, make like an insane amount of 4 ups to stay alive and hold an objective. And so there's like that in there. Now, so that's one aspect. Secondly, the entire army gets full back in charge. Well, all the Coven stuff.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
That's
very
free.
Nice.
Right? So all my Raiders get full back in charge. All my Rax, all my Grotesques get full back in charge for free. Which means I can peg things with Raiders, and then I can fall back away and go peg other things behind those things with Raiders the next turn. And it just means that I can use my CP for other stuff, not fall back in charge, for example, which is great.
Super useful,
very, very useful. And then my opponent can't just like tag me and prevent me from going places. Because a lot of the times they'll like people will charge or pile into things specifically to hold them down, so they can't like fall back and charge and do. You can't do that against my army. Like I'm just gonna go where I want, charge where I want. Like you can't pin me down, which is great. And then last but not least, they have a couple of fun stratagems. And I think that's like the so like the icing on the cake for what I want the list to do, which is that durability part of the list. So one stratagem, very simple one. You kill something in close combat, you get a 4 up +++ for the rest of the game. So you can have a unit of 5 Grotesques, kill a little unit of infiltrators or something, spend a command point, the entire unit of Grotesques has a 4 up, feel no pain for the rest of the game. And trying to get through Grotesques with a 4+ feel no pain is murder for my opponent. So that's one thing, because I can then design units to be very durable. But if my opponent sends little screening units or whatever, it just helps for my army to like get beefed up, if that makes sense. And second, there's 2 more. One is if I do a wound with a poisoned weapon. So I've got some ossifactors, so I can do it in shooting. If I do a wound with a poison weapon, I can spend a command point, then that unit will be -1 attack. Right? So I can do that on like a unit that has lots of attacks. All of a sudden, then that increases the durability of the rest of my army, right? Like if I can pull an attack off, I can do that in combat as well. So I can shoot a unit, -1 attack, and then get into combat with a unit with a poisoned weapon, and then give them -1 attack. So I could have like 2 units at -1 attack. And then when you kill a model in close combat, you can make them -1 to wound you, and the next time they fight. Then you could also be like, now it's your -1 attack and -1 to wound. My Grotesque to have a 4 up invulnerable, like 4 feel no pain. Good luck trying to get through them in the same, like at the rate that you were hoping to get through them.
It's the undercommitment, isn't it? That's what you've got so many ways to make that happen now.
Right. So if you split fire, if you undercommit, I'll have 1 or 2 Grotesques left, and they're just going to go around and do a world of hurt because you can't pin them down. They're going to go and charge something else. And then the final nail in the coffin is a stratagem where in my charge phase, I can pick any Coven unit that is within engagement range of the enemy, and on a 2+, I can take away their objective secured, which wins you games.
It wins so many games. Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, is that a unit? You know what? That's a very killy unit of 1,000 Sun Terminators.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. They're on this objective. I have a single rack left. Okay. So I'm going to move this rack onto the objective, and then I'm going to charge you with this raider and take away your OBSEC. And so this one rack is going to give you the finger.
Oh, that's so good. It's
steal
so
the
good.
objective from your 400-point unit. Excellent.
That's amazing. Amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's wonderful, isn't it? It's super, super cool. And I think that was the strat I saw. I was like, oh, there's just a whole mission in that, right? There's a mission. There's just so, as a competitive player, there's just so much that opens up. And as you say, that the throwing off of the math, because Coven, I guess, are always kind of our faction that do that, right? They're always the sub-faction that people get it wrong into, right? They don't.
Court of the Archon.
Right.
Like, people
the court
the Court of the Archon.
People never expect the court.
Like, that court is just so durable. For 150 points, that's like a 300-point unit of durability. Like, it is nuts.
Yeah. It's the face when it's their first time. It's their first Court of the Archon, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, you've not seen this yet. You don't know how this is gonna go. It's not going anywhere.
Wait. How many attacks?
Yeah. Yeah. Because they hit so hard as well. Like, they're ludicrous.
24 from these 4 models?
Yeah, the little Urgul it's just ludicrous. It's just like, oh yeah, so I absorb your whole attack, and now I hit you with 1,000,000 attacks.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's so good. Oh, wonderful! Right, I think that's covered all the ground I wanted to cover today. I think as you say, there's loads of reasons to be really optimistic about playing Drukhari right now. The army's in a good spot. You have to play well to win your games. You've got tons of tools with this fantastic 9th book, and I think there's loads to be excited about going forwards into a more balanced edition of the game as well. So, thank you for coming on and setting that all out for us. It's been wonderful. It's been a real pleasure to meet you.
For anybody listening, I'm putting thumbs up. Thanks for having me. No, that was good radio.
Yeah, it's been a really good conversation, and all the best of luck at the WTC. That's going to be super exciting. I bet you'll have.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm playing in the War Masters GT, which I think is 6 or 7 rounds of singles, and then I'm playing in the team event. So. And then I've got my England tour. So I'll be in England. I'm going to play Lawrence from Tabletop Tactics. I'm playing Winters. I'm playing on stream with Box.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to Warhammer World on Thursday the 18th. Be there or be square. And then I get to play Hellstorm Mikey before I head back.
That is a fantastic
I might extend my stay to visit family.
Yeah.
We'll see when I'm there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I hope it's all wonderful, and I really look forward to seeing what comes out of the various different games as well. Those all sound awesome. Brilliant.
It's going to be a fun time.
Thank you for listening, everybody. We will see you again soon. Have a great time, and no, don't let them take you alive.
Yeah, no. I want to take them alive. I want to take all of them alive. They're mine. Bye, everybody.
See you later. Bye, everybody.